welcome to another FasTrax webinar. Webinars are weekly events that are held on Fridays at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. To get to webinars, we can go to FasTrax website at goftx.com. Once there, we'll go over to the FTx Lifeline link. Click on that, and once that loads, we'll go halfway down the page. We'll get to the webinar section. From here, we can go in and register for upcoming webinars. We can also view previous webinars if we happen to miss one or you just want to go back and review the material. We also have a subscribe button to where this will allow you to enter your email so you'll get notified of upcoming webinars and any other FasTrax news. So today we are going to be covering warehouse and vendors and adjustments. So let's get started. I've already got my warehouse program opened up. So we're going to start off with vendors. To get to vendors, we're going to go down to maintenance. Then we have the vendors tab. As you can see, currently I have 3 vendors in here, but we're going to add a 4th one. So to add a vendor, I'm going to come down to the bottom where it says Add Vendor. I can now enter details in this section. So first thing we want to do, we want to give it a name. We just name this one Vendor 4. And if you use account numbers, we can use and put in an account number here. It's not necessary to have one. It's just kind of for your records. Same thing for the vendor's address, city, state, zip. All of this information is optional. It's just more for your benefit. Just keep in mind, vendors are where you're actually ordering your products from. So, if I'm out of any product in the warehouse, I'm ordering from my vendor to get it back in stock for myself. So it may help to have their city and state in here so you know which vendor may be closer to you, because you can have items that belong to multiple vendors and you can get it at a cheaper price from one vendor than maybe the other one. One may be closer so you can get it in quicker. So all this data can be useful, but you don't have to put it in. Email address, of course, would be like a contact information, like the vendor, their name. So you have reorder days. How many days does it take to get items reordered? We do have a checkbox for the default to no tax. So that means that anything from this vendor by default is not going to be charged tax when you receive it in. If that is not checked and you've got the option set to do taxes on receiving, then your standard taxes would be added to that invoice as well. If your vendor offers terms, you can put in the terms here. Ship by, that's just going to say how they ship it to you. Again, this is just for your record keeping. Now we have this option here to allow back orders. So a back order is if you order an item from the vendor, but they don't have enough to fulfill that for you. Say you order 10 of something, and for whatever reason they only had 3. That would mean that they would put 7 on back order for you. Well, if you have this allow back orders selected within Warehouse, what it would do is when you receive that purchase order from your vendor and you put in that you only received 3 of that item, it would then go in and create a new purchase order to put those 7 on order, and it'll be a back order from whatever your original purchase order number is. Not all vendors will do that. Some vendors, if they don't have it, they send you what they have and that's it. Some will create the back order for you as well, so once they do receive what you wanted, they'll then ship that out to you. Then we have manage EDI settings. If your vendor allows to be able to do electronic ordering and invoicing, this is where you could go in and set that up. Most vendors that I know of on the warehouse end, I don't know of anybody that does this currently, but we do have the option there to where if it is something that you've got a vendor that will do it, we have that option available for you. So I've just got my name of vendor 4 in here. So once I have everything filled out, I can put notes down here. Again, this is going to be for just things that you want to put in about the vendor. The same for the vendor custom 1 through 5 on the right side. Once I have everything filled out the way that I want it, I just come back to the bottom and I hit Save Vendor. I get vendor added, and now we can see vendor 4 is here. Like I did mention, we have vendors that we order from. We would want to have our items associated to what vendors we can get it from. So we have what's called a vendor part. If we go to item maintenance, I can go over to vendor parts. So for example here, the item 1 has got vendor 1. I also have one for vendor 2, and I have one for vendor 3. So I can order from 3 different vendors for this one item. All right, so let's actually tie an item to our new vendor. So what we would do is we'd come down here and do add part, which vendor it is. Now I want to look up my item. In this case, I'm going to use item number 12. I'll type in my item number and I hit enter. As you can see, it gives me my description and how much the cost is each for the item currently. My vendor part is blank because I do not have a vendor part associated with vendor 4 yet. So we're going to just name this vendor part number 12-4. So item 12 from vendor 4. I have is primary vendor part, meaning is this going to be my primary vendor that I'm ordering from? This goes back to doing your reorders. If it's a primary vendor part and you're going in and doing a reorder for that vendor, it's going to put that item on the order for you. If it's not the primary vendor part, then it's not going to automatically order this item, but you would still be able to add it to the order if you wanted to. Has a required order set, meaning you have to order so many of these. So do you have to order 3 of these in order to have the vendor send it to you? If so, if you was to order a quantity of 1, it's going to end up ordering a quantity of 3 because that's what the order set is. Then we have number of units. This is how many sellable units come in this vendor part. Right now it's set up as 1, meaning I order this vendor part, I get 1 item in the sale. Well, what if I have 5? Order 1 vendor part, but I now have 5 items to sell. Well, I also need to update my cost because right now I'd be selling, or I'd be receiving 5 at just $2.50, which is the cost of 1. So if I'm getting 5 sellable items, my cost each on this one will be $12.50. Once I have everything entered, I just hit Save Part. Vendor part is added. Now we can see vendor 4 with our vendor part number, item number, how many units come with it, and the cost for the part. All right, that pretty much covers vendors. The next topic we have scheduled for today is adjustments. So adjustments is just a way to move items in and out of your inventory. This could be due to the fact that an item got damaged and you need to take it out of inventory. It could be that you done a count and you miscounted and you need to add or subtract depending on if you overcounted or undercounted an item. Just a way to go back and correct your on-hand quantity. So to get to adjustments, we go to the inventory module. And from there we go to the adjustment tab. If I've had any adjustments done recently, they would show up in here already. Of course, I can change my date range to look for adjustments that have been done. But to do a new one, I'm just going to come down to the bottom where it says new. I can put notes in here for why am I doing the adjustment. I can do inventory correction, damaged items, whatever. I do have a box for damaged. So if I'm doing adjustments because there's damaged items, I can check this and that will remove the quantity on hand and move it into damage for me. Keep in mind, this is a all or nothing setting. So if I mark this as damaged, every item on this adjustment is going to be marked as damaged. So if I only have one damaged item and everything else is going to be a sellable item, I don't want to mark damage and put that item on here. I'd want to do a separate adjustment for it. All right, but to do the adjustment, all we do is we come down here to item details. Under item to adjust, type in the quantity. Type in the item. Then it goes to the box to adjust quantity. So if I'm adding to inventory, it's a positive number. If I'm taking it out of inventory, it's going to be a negative number. So say we've done a cycle count in warehouse on these items, and I miscounted. I have 105 instead of 106. So I would just put a -1 to subtract 1 out to change my on hand quantity. And it does tell me my cost per item. There is the option where you can change this if you need to. Most of the time though, you won't have to adjust your cost. It's going to pull what you already have it set as. I have a box here where I could actually put in reasons if I wanted to. And once I type in a reason, it'll be there and it'll remember it. So I could come up with kind of a default list of reasons for doing this. Again, this is going to be more for record keeping, just so a quick look and see why this was done. It doesn't have to be given a reason. You can always put that reason in the notes in this section. But once I put in my item and how many I'm adjusting in or out, I just hit add. So that item's added to the adjustment here. I can go in and do multiple items. This one I'm going to adjust 3 in. So item 1, I'm going to take 1 out of inventory. Item 2, I'm putting 3 more into inventory. Once you have everything entered that you need to adjust, just simply come down to the bottom and it tells us that we have 2 total items, which we do. And what is the dollar amount of those items? So everything looks good. We just click apply. It's going to ask me to apply the adjustment to the inventory. Tell it yes. And now it's applied. So for example, if we go back and look at item number 1, we had 106. I took 1 out. We now have 105. Same thing for item number 2. We had 47. I added 3, so now we have 50. Also, in the item details here, we do have a tab. for audit analysis. You can actually look at adjustments on items as well. So if I look at my item, go to adjustments here, I can see that the default user who I'm logged in as, which we can tell that by the bottom right, adjusted a total of 3. This was the cost, when it was done, what time, that it was an adjustment, and that it has been applied. Again, if I'd made any notes would have showed right here as well. So again, once we do an adjustment and apply it, if we have any questions of why our inventory may be a little bit different than what we're thinking, under the item details, we can look at audit analysis and see any adjustments that have been done for this particular item. All right, that pretty much covers our topics today of vendors and also adjustments. Hope you learned something today. And again, and just as a quick reminder, webinars are weekly events that are done on Fridays at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. And to get to those webinars, you just go to goftx.com. Then you'll click on the FTx Lifeline. And you scroll halfway down the page, Lifeline section, get to webinars. And once there, you can actually go in and view the previous webinars and register for upcoming ones. That concludes today's webinar, and I hope everybody has a great weekend. Thank you.